It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
Princess Pumpkin with a good question. Is it worth maxing a glyph before moving on to the next, or is it better to balance them out? You know, that's a really good question. Glyph leveling focus is going to vary a lot depending on the hero. Like, there are some heroes that just straight up have an identity. Like, for example, Aurora. She is a tank and a dodge tank at that, right? So for Aurora, I would recommend you maxing out her dodge as soon as possible. Now, there is a diminishing returns point on all versions of Hero Wars that you get to a point and it's good enough, right? It's hard to know exactly where that is. I don't think any answer is incorrect, to be honest with you, Pumpkin. I think that focusing on one is just fine, and focusing on the defense stats for tanks, focusing on the damage dealing stats for damage dealers, the magic or armor penetration stat, for example. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But support, control, even your damage dealers, even your tanks, having a well-rounded set of glyphs, not a bad idea either. Not a bad idea either. I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. I think that specific hero discussions need to be had, you know, and depending on the team that they're in, even one step further than that. Like, if you're building a way of progress team, then, you know, you might want to talk about, you know, which hero to focus glyphs on first instead of which glyph to focus on first, if that makes sense. Like, the core hero for a team, or the core 2 to 3 heroes for a team, Julius and Judge, for example, and the Julius, Judge, Isaac way of progress team. You know, you have Julius, and then you have a number of support and damage dealer heroes that kind of add into the conversation. So, you know, in that situation, I would probably focus on the tank first, focusing on the important glyphs for the hero of the team that doesn't change. Yeah, Moss from Isley is right. Using Aurora, I chose Aurora because she's very, very niche and specific, right? And if she doesn't have dodge, then she's really nothing. The important thing is to not rush it. This game is, first of all, you're never going to outspend everybody. You're never going to outspend everybody. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be spending more than you. You got to keep that in perspective. You can't get disheartened if you spend $10 a month on this game, or $8. Is it $8 for Valkyrie's Favor? I think it's $8 for Valkyrie's Favor a month, or maybe it's $10. I can't remember what it is, $8 or $10. You know, if that's all you spend and you see players outrunning you, you got to keep it in perspective what the game is. The game is a time waster while you're in line at the bank. Who goes to the bank and stands in line anymore? You know, it's not necessarily designed for you to just like actively play all day long, like Battlefield or Call of Duty or Fortnite. You know, those games you can sit down and play for 2, 3, 5 hours if you really wanted to, and a lot of people do. You know, I used to play Overwatch for, you know, roughly 2 hours a day. If you just have progress every day, and I don't mean like the Way of Progress faction, I mean progress. If you're focused and you make progress every day, to me, that's winning. You'll wake up someday and the team that you're building is good enough at, you know, it's built out 80%, 70% of max, and it's good enough to be competitive against the teams that team is supposed to beat. Right? Like we talk about all the time, you know, dodge heroes beat physical attacking teams, and physical attacking teams often beat mage teams, and, you know, mage teams beat critical hit teams. You know, there's like this rock, paper, scissors kind of loose kind of thing. You know, there are teams that just beat other teams, and, you know, until you get your heroes leveled up to a certain point, you won't auto beat those teams, but eventually you will. And that's when you know it's time to start building the next hero, the next team, the next alternate for your main team. Just stay focused, have a plan, and just get a little progress every day. Progress every day, in my opinion. Specific heroes, specific teams, all of those, completely different discussion. If you're building, you know, Orion Augustus, there's a strategy. Which glyphs to level first between Orion Augustus? How about, you know, Iris, Dory, and Heidi? You know, that 3-pack team on Facebook and web. There's a strategy for glyph leveling, but eventually you want them all to be leveled up, right? So it's, you know, as long as you're working towards it and you're not just randomly dumping glyphs into Fox when you're building Ginger, Yeah, that's how you that's how you progress in this game. Having fun in this game, that's a different conversation, right? The fun in this game is derived from the psychological triggers, and that's different for everybody. Some people loves spending a lot of resources. Some people love to win. Some people love to have free-to-play accounts that are successful against long-term players. Some people just like collecting everything, and that's different for everybody. That was a long-winded answer, Pumpkin, but I hope you got value from it.